To remove the cover on the rollover protection, the first thing you want to do is remove these things here that surround the seat, or the seat belt goes through. There are a few clips. So there's one there, there's this one here, there's also these two dots there that go into those two holes there. And so you just want to line those up when you're installing. Push those into place, make sure those two at the top are aligned, and then when you actually want to pull it off, you're just going to lift that up like that, and then you can just pull those out, generally just to lever it up from on the underside here, and that'll just pop those out. As it's done here, these clips, they're metal ones, oftentimes stay with it, so you can just pull those off and just plonk that back into that slot, ready for next time to be pulled on. When you're pulling this off, this piece here will actually be going to a bit that actually comes off to the rollover protection, so you'll have to sort of maneuver it so it comes free, and then that's the first thing you're going to do when you put that back on, is to slot that in and then put all those clips in place. To remove the rollover protection, the first thing you want to do is remove the wind deflector in the middle, the one that's here. The ones that are in here, they just push out to the front. So these ones, they just push out that way. And then you'll have this thing in the middle here. What you want to do is pry that out. You can see there's a little notch in there, so if you just get a plastic pry tool and pry those out, they just pop straight out. And underneath that there are 4 screws, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Remove those, and then what we're going to do is pull the front off, because it's the rear that's still connected. The way this is actually connected is, you can see there are these little knobs, there's lots and lots of them, and they go into these little grommets on the underside of it. So when you remove those, they're in there reasonably snugly. So what you want to do is, instead of just reefing this forward, you just want to sort of get your fingernails in here and just gradually pull this forward, and they'll start to move. There's none in the middle, it's just around each side, and then they'll just pop apart. And once it comes off, that front piece can be completely removed. Once that's been removed, at each end there is another screw. Make sure you don't lose I've just glued those little washers in there because they fall out pretty easily. There's another piece in here that, if it just pops out, they can just be clipped straight back in again. But there's a screw at each side here, and then once that is off, this piece can be removed, which is generally pretty simple. You need to have the roof all the way down to actually get access to this, to put all this stuff off. And the way this is put on, it slots into a bunch of things that are on the roof frame. But on the back of the actual rollover bar that goes through here, there's a little metal tab that this clip here will actually go around. And so be careful when you're actually removing this. Don't just push it rearwards, because these things break off really easily. I've tried to reinforce this because mine just got smashed up coming out of the factory. I pulled it apart ages ago to find out where a rattle was coming from, and it just wasn't put together properly. And putting these together, have a good look at it before you start. It's actually pretty hard to put them on correctly, in that little tab on the back of that bar needs to go in here, as well as all of these other things need to go in the right spot. And then once that's there, and you shouldn't be able to move that at all, it should be able to sit there relatively firmly, then the front will go on, you'll connect all those screws, etc. Important, there are 2 rubber grommets, one under each hoop. You're going to sit it over the top of that, and getting it around the line at the bottom of the roof bay. Make sure you get it around that first, but then sit it on each of those grommets there, and then we're going to move it forward, and then that clip there goes onto the back of the hoop itself. Okay, it doesn't need to be forced. What we need to do is make sure there's a little screw position here, which is actually in front of where it's going to get connected here. Gently move that forward, and then we're just going to push that down. And from here, if that moves like that, that's obviously not connected. So we just need to try again and make sure when we push it like that, you go, right, that's actually engaged, okay. That one's not, just gently push it down, okay, now that's engaged. Also, when you're pushing the bit on the front, don't just push it like this, squeeze that against it, because the clip in here is actually really, really small, and it would easily just, if you pushed hard backwards, that would just break that off straight away. So squeeze them together, get those little knobs on, and then you can put all the screws in.